What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of King of the Mix. And today's topic we're going to be discussing is auxes, buses, and sends. Now, you may heard of those words before, or you might be completely new and never heard of them. And if you did hear of them, you might know a little bit about it, or you just might be completely lost or intimidated by it. But I'm going to simplify it and help you understand it a little bit better. So, I have the session pulled up that I'm working with. So I like to organize my tracks, you see by colors or whatever. So I'm not going to use all of the instruments to not make it overwhelming for you, but I'm just going to use the drums, the guitar, and the vocal to simplify it. So the first thing you have to do is have your tracks. I got them in it's two ways you can we have to put our tracks in the mixer. So it's two ways you can do that. You could do it directly from the playlist, or you can click on the channel and do it. So when you click on it from the playlist, the ones that I got highlighted, you can either press Control L and it will send it to the mixer, or since I already have this selected, which is the reason why it's on the screen, I can go to the mixer and right click on any channel, and you go over to channel routing, route selected channel to this track, and you also see that Control L is right beside it. So it does the same thing. So boom, we have the snare on the mixer, which means we are able to mix the snare how we want to. So let me put the rest of the instruments that I want onto the mixer. The hi-hat. Um, let's do the shaker. Let's do the kick drums. See, everything is going to the mixer, the guitar. And the reason why I like to color code things is it just makes it easier to focus on what I'm trying to find more quickly. And the vocals. So if I press play, you should see all the levels start jumping in the mixer. All right, that's good. So we have some sounds in the mixer, and by default, everything in that's loaded onto the mixer is being routed to this master track over here, right? You can ignore the effects that I have on here. I was just playing around with it earlier, but everything goes through the master, which means that's what's coming out of our speakers. So if I was to click on the vocal and remove it from the master, if you just like click this little arrow over top of this volume knob, the vocal should disappear. So basically, the vocal is your stereo bus, your stereo group, whatever you want to call it. Basically, everything that you put in your track has to go through the master somehow. And the reason why I say somehow is because you might want to group certain things and you don't want it going to the master, but you want it going to a group that's going through the master. So, for instance, we have our drums. Let me move the drums over. So, if let's say if I got all these drums, but I'm like, I want my drums to sound a little more crazier, a little more heavy, a little more punchy. That will means that will mean that you will have to go in on each individual track and load up an effect. You go to your channel. I have my effects kind of organized, but the same thing as yours. Let's say if I wanted this snare to hit a little harder. And let's say I wanted everything in that frequency range to hit a little harder. That means I will have to take my valuable time as an engineer and go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tracks. But as you see on my playlist, I have a lot more drums than that, which means that will take me a lot of time to do all of that individual tweaking. But instead, let's remove this. I can select all these tracks. And if you're on Windows, if you press Control and just slide over with your mouse, I have all of the drums selected and I want to put them in a group. So I will go down right here. Let's go. Any track can be turned into a group. Any empty track. So number 9 is empty. So I will go down to this arrow right here. I can right click. And if I press route to this track only, that means it's only going through number 9. It's going to take it off the master, right? Because I only want the effects on track number 9. So let's see what happens. So as we can see, the number 9 track meter is bouncing. So let's see what happens if I mute track number 9. So that means these tracks are no longer going to the master. They're going to number 9. So let's name this drum bus. You can call it a group. You can call it a bus. Same thing. And I like to give my buses a color. So also when I'm looking at the mixer, I can distinctly and quickly find the bus. So we can take these drums and put effects and change the volume. So that means I can manipulate everything at one time. And like I said, I want to edit these drums just a little bit. So let's just quickly do some effects and see how every drum can get edited at the same time instead of individual tweaking, which wastes time. And also, that makes your mixing process much faster when you can do individual tweaks and you start at a good starting point. So your drums are already sounding like 10 to 20% better. Okay, so let's also make our drum sound a little more punchier. So we're going to grab a compressor. Hey, we got our drum sound a little punchier already. Okay, so now track number 9, the reason why we're able to hear it is because that's going into the master, as you can see, right? See, anything you click on is connected to the master. So technically our individual drums are going through the master. They just going through the master through a bus, right? So it's just like an analogy will be if your drums are students and they have to go to school. So how do you usually go to school? You go through a bus. So number 9, the drums are the students. Number 9 is the bus, and the master is the school. Write that down. That's like very easy to remember it that way. All right. So that's what a bus is. Now let's slide over to, let me move that because I had some effects on there playing around earlier. We have our vocal, and our vocal, if we solo it, we see that our vocal is pretty dry.
Open up your eyes and you will find.
So in a mix, that's pretty boring, and you want it to sound like a record. So you need to put it in a room. And something that we will usually do to make something sound like a room is use a reverb. So if I directly put a reverb on the vocal track, track number 9, since I slid it over, this is track number 9 now. So like if you slide anything over in FL Studio, the track number at the top will change, but don't worry about that. Just focus on how I have it organized. So if I go to my reverbs, and we're just going to do a simple room reverb. So when I'm playing this should sound, oh no, wait, let me use a better one with a clear mix knob. Okay, so when I play this vocal, it should sound completely washed out and like really bad. So let's hear how it sounds.
Open up your eyes and you will find. It's a river of
See, as you can see, that sounds horrendous, and in the mix that is going to get very um cluttered, and the vocal is going to disappear, and it's going to cloud everything else. So some of you might just say, how about you just take the mix knob and just bring it down? So this what this will do.
Open up your eyes and you will find.
Yes, that is a solution, but what if you like this reverb so much that you say, I want to put this on everything. I want to put a little of my drums to have that reverb. I want the guitar to have that reverb and the vocal. That will mean you will have to put this reverb on every single channel, and it will destroy your CPU, and also it will take a lot of time. And mixing timing is very significant and valuable. So instead, we will create a syn, right? Now, the syn is we're sending the audio and the tracks that we want to have reverb on them. We are sending it to that reverb. So in order to do this, once again, we will grab another blank track. So you see I click number 12, but what I like to do is I like to have my mixer track organized. And one thing you can do in FL Studio is right click, go down to dock, and I like to usually dock it to the left or the right. So let's dock it to the left, and you see it jumped over next to the master. So we're going to rename it and color it as well. Reverb, color it red. So now we can just grab this effect. You can reopen it and do all of that extra, but FL Studio is also great because I can just go down to save preset as, hold that, slide my effect over. Now the effect is on the reverb channel, so we can take it off of here. And another reason why it's great to put your reverb on a syn is because you can also manipulate the reverb more and add more effects underneath the reverb. So we're going to click on the reverb and make sure this is the most important thing when you have an effect with a mix knob on your syn. Make sure it's at 100%. So none of the dry level from your track is going into the reverb. So now let's listen to that vocal again.
Open up your eyes, and you will find.
Pretty dry. So you click on the vocal, it's highlighted, come over down to the bottom once again. This arrow, right click. Instead of routing, we're going to go down to side chain to this track, right? But now, boom, you see it created a volume knob, but unlike the master knob, this is turned all the way down. That's why we don't see the green, right? The volume is all the way at 0. So if we play it,
Open up your eyes.
we have no reverb. So the obvious thing will be to turn this volume knob up. And this volume knob is telling you what percentage of the reverb is going to be on your vocal. So let's slowly turn that up.
Open up your eyes, and you will find it's a big old world, and it's yours, and it's mine. Open up your eyes.
And it's just like it's doing the same thing as the mix knob on this plugin. But like I said, we can do more with the reverb now. So if I want to take an EQ, because we saw how when we turned the reverb up really loud, it kind of got cloudy and boomy at the bottom. We can take some of that off. So I'm going to isolate it so you can hear it pretty better.
Open up your eyes, and you will find it's a big old world, and it's yours, and it's mine. Open up your eyes. Open up your eyes.
You see? And now you can like really go crazy with it, add some type of phaser effects, stuff like that.
Open up your eyes, and you will find it's a big old world, and it's yours, and it's mine.
So, yeah, the possibilities are infinite, endless, whatever you want to say. But yeah, let's take that off for the meantime. So, yeah, like I was saying, you probably want to add some reverb on your drums. You might want to add some reverb on your guitar. So, let's put a little bit on the vocal. Let's put a teeny bit on the drums and then put a little bit on the guitar.
Open up your eyes, and you will find it's a big old world, and it's yours, and it's mine. Open up your eyes. Open up your eyes,
Another thing too, some people like to pan their reverbs, right?
Open up your eyes. Open up your eyes.
So you can pan your reverbs. And also with a vocal, another priority sin that you will probably do is a delay. So let me just show you that as well. Let's go to my Echo Boy. So I'll rename this and color this delay. Oops, I slid it over. I meant to dock it to the left. So same thing for the delay. Make sure your mix. See, some plugins by default, the mix knob is not all the way at 100. So you have to always double check that. Turn it to 100 so the dry signal doesn't get through. You know, we will probably use delay on vocals mainly. Side chain it, turn it up.
Open up your eyes, and you will find it's a big old world.
And you see how this delay already has low cut and high cut on it, kind of what we did with the EQ. So that's a bonus. I don't have to add an EQ if I don't want to. If I just want to roll off some highs and lows, it already included with that one. But yeah, let's listen to it.
Open up your eyes, and you will find it's a big old world, and it's yours and it's mine.
So that's pretty much it. You have your Auxes, which is these wires, is sending it to your buses and your sends. Simple. Subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you would like me to do a tutorial on next. I appreciate you guys.